in a toucan shape. And I'm going to be painting this in gouache. This is from the Still Life reference, the Food Paint Challenge reference, which is, hosted by Dennis as well as Alai Ganuza on Instagram. And I found it really cute and I thought, why not try it in gouache? So we're going to be breaking down the subject into different values. Also, I'm going to be painting this in gouache. So I'm going to be showing how you can go either with layers or you can also go into it with a la prima, that is just one layer and you finish it off. So I'm going to be using, yes, what am I using today? I'm using a watercolor sketchbook. Also, I'm going to be using the Camel Artist Gouache. Now, I am the art ambassador with Camel Artist, Camel brand, and they gifted me this, and I will be doing an honest review soon. Also, I have transferred it into this silicone lid palette. It's a portable palette. I think it works really well with gouache because it becomes very easy to handle. So this is the palette that I'm using today. And let's not waste time, You can always ask me questions in between. I'll just start with the painting. Now, if you've attended my lives before, you know that I try to change the colors to make it a little more painterly. So since this is quite green, I'm going to be going in with a kind of a violet, not exactly violet, a kind of a muted violet background. And that is something that I'm going to be putting in first. Okay, so I'm going to be mixing in a nice violet for the first layer. But it's going to be of the same value. So we're going to be adding in, we have a nice, and I'm going to be using flat brushes for this demo. Kind of dirtying it down. Or maybe I could go in with brown also. So we could go in with brown if we want. Let's see if I feel the need. So at present I'm just adding this brown to add in the shadows. I have diluted the paint a little bit, not much. I'm using gouache. If you have any questions, you can always ask me. So trying in to put in the shadows first and keeping a rag close by so that I can wipe my brush and add in more colors. Now again, I'm going to be adding in, I'm just finishing off the shadows. You can see there's a shadow here. If it feels too dark, just add in a touch of white. Yeah, I think it was too dark. Now adding it over here. And the first layer is going to be really fast. I'm going to go as fast as I can because I'm going to be working on it later on, you know. Now adding in the background. Again, it's going to be real quick. A little lighter brown. I was first thinking of putting in a little violet maybe or a reddish pinkish, but somehow I just felt Let this shine through and let the color in the background be a little muted. So I can always, add in more variety later on if I want. But at the moment, I am just adding in large strokes of color. Now, once you drain out your brush, you can always add in more white, or maybe, now you can see there's a lot of drag in the color. Now, this could be because the paint is kind of dry. So you can wet it either with a little touch of water or just use a spray on your palette, and that'll be great. And I'm keeping an eye on how my shadows are over here. I can always go back, mix in some more darker colors, and you can see that adds a little bit of variety. So yeah, this feels interesting. I'm adding in a little bit of yellow in it so that it's slightly warmer over here. I could also add a touch of white, just, and you can already see the shadow is quite evident. If it feels too dry, just dampen the brush. Still quite dry. Let's see. Just leaving it at that at the moment. Maybe washing my brush a bit. Or should I add in some more colors? Just this. Yeah, I think I'll add in some more variety. Maybe a little bit of the violet. I just wanted to use that violet, I guess. Yeah, I think I'll add in the violet a bit. Yep. Also over here. A little bit of that green with the brown. Keeping the value nearly same, but adding in different tones or different, as I pick up the brush, I add in some more changes over here. So keeping it loose, maybe taking in that yellow. Yeah, I'm liking this. We've got this done. We can always add in more layers, but for the moment, I think this is quite nice. I can come in with more lighter color if I want. Now let's get to the main part, the fun part, and that's the toucan. And this is going to have some nice bright colors, as we can see. Okay, so we have the greens. Now the greens are going to be mixed. First I'm going to be mixing the greens. And I'm going to be checking it over here. This is quite good, but it needs to to be lightened. So I'm going in with a lime green over here. So I've mixed in the yellow. And you know, another way to check is take a sheet of paper. Just let me see if there is an empty sheet. Yep, there is. And when you take this sheet, you know, just put it on the edge and match it. It's slightly darker, so adding in a bit of more yellow in it. This is if you want exact colors. Still dark. A touch of white. Close your eyes, and if it feels good, go ahead. So I'm quite liking it at the moment. So all those places where I feel there is the lighter green, like over here, over here, over here, all these areas, I'm going to be adding it. Okay, so I am going to be adding this green. Over here. Okay, then I'm going to be adding it over here. Over here. Hi, I'm glad you could make it. Hi, Abhi. Do let me know what is the kind of materials that you use. Adding it here. Now I'm going stroke by stroke. I'm not, blending it. I'm not interested in blending this. All I'm interested is just putting in the colors wherever it is. Okay. It doesn't matter whether it looks perfect. I'm just putting in the shape. Okay, so this is basically just putting in the and you can see now it's mostly I'm just thinking, okay, these are the areas where I want the green, the lighter green. Can you see that? Yes, I am painting from light to dark today. You can paint dark to light also, but you know what happens? Your light colors are the most vibrant or the lightest, or the brightest colors. So once you go from, if you're using the same brush, if you go from dark to light, it's very difficult to get those vibrancy or that bright color if you're going from dark to light. But now since this has been placed, it's so much easier, to get in the darker colors, because even if the darker colors are slightly muddy or dirty, it doesn't matter. But the lightest light have to look really bright. So sometimes it's best to go from light to dark. Okay. Though for the highlights, then I use a completely different brush. So yes, we've got this part. Now we need to go a little darker. So it's kind of easier. I just have to pick in a little green, add it into this, maybe add a little bit of the yellow ochre to dirty it a bit. And you know what? I usually, yes, exactly, Abby, you're so right about it. We're going to be checking out the next shade. Now, you could do this thing If you have an iPhone, I mean, I use an iPhone also. So if you have an iPhone, you could do this by just shading in the colors by using the markup tool in your photograph editing thing. Or you could download something which is called a app which is called Coolers, Coollers. So this just gives you the breakdown of all the colors that you need, and it becomes kind of easy to mix in the exact color. That's something that you could always do. So we've got that. I'm holding it in my hand because I have that habit of, checking out the colors really up close. Coolers, yeah, that's it. So do try it out and do let me know. And you can see this is kind of a darker color. Again, I'm just placing it. I'm not being too bothered about, oh, how is it looking? Is it looking right? No, that's not my concern. Whether I'm putting in the color at the right spot is my only concern. So just because then this layer, when it's done, comes the correction layer. And sometimes the color may be going out. But should that be of concern? No, I don't think so. Because we're going to be doing a correction layer. And now it looks kind of messy. And it also looks kind of mosaicy, I would call it. But that's fine. Because if you get everything right on the first layer, or everything is just perfect, right, then there is no scope of, changing it from a photograph to a painting. Now I'm going to go a little darker. So to darken green, you could add in some blue. And then we can add in some violet too. Because somehow violet darkens the green really beautifully. And then we can always check whether we got it right. Still darker. Now I don't darken with black because I just don't, I use black only for value studies. So black is out of the question. Now this green is nice, but the only problem is it's kind of muted. I like it. It's nice. So yes, now it's time to add in the darker ones. You could change your brush, but for this layer, I prefer sticking with the darker one or the same brush. And I have it in my hand because, what I do is I'll show you what I do. I'm here, so I'm kind of enlarging it, then bringing it down. So that works for me. That's why it's in my hand. Yes, so we're going to be adding in more shades if I have the time today. And slowly, you can see we're giving it form, which is quite important. form is the one thing that is going to give it that 3D kind of a look. And you can see, still I am only working, and you can see already this is starting to gain some kind of a form, though it's still quite mosaicy. So yes, this is kind of looking like a toucan at the moment. And then I'm going to be cleaning my brush, and I'm going to be using another brush for the highlights later on. We're going to go on to the beak. Now the beak has a little brownish green, but it has a slight touch of green. So first only we're going to take a little yellow ochre, the little blackish green that we had. And here now I'm going in with the darker color first, because I already had some green. This has a slight green. You can just see this. It's kind of having a little muted green over here. And now this brush needs to be washed really well. Maybe change into another brush if possible. Let me see. Maybe I'll just clean it and hope for the best. Yeah, so I can just hope, check it out. Yeah, it's kind of clean. Pretty clean. Yeah. So now we are going in again with the highlights or the lighter areas. So we're going to go in with this first. And we know that it is more of an orangey yellow. So let's go with the orangey yellow first. And for the orangey yellow, again, we're going to be just checking it out. Yeah, we needn't have it perfect, first of all. It has to just match approximately. Yes, definitely. Abhi, I'll give the whole detail in the end also. I usually share reviews of the products that I use, so you can check on my page, or sorry, my channel, the kind of products that I use. They have a detailed review, whether they are, and also with tips about whether they are suited for you or not. We're having this good thing over here happening. Maybe, yeah. Now we need to go a bit on the brownish oranges side, as you can see. So I'm going to be just adding in a touch of that brown, but I'm also adding a touch of the red. Just, I don't want it to be too browny, maybe a little bit more orangey. Yeah, so we are again going to check, have we got the right color? A little bit darker. So So we got a bit darker, a bit more, maybe a little red. And this becomes so easy, you know. Yep, quite a lot. So let's get that. So what we're going to be doing is now placing it in all those areas. And you can see if there is a drag. A drag is like a, you know, a dry brush thing. Just you can moisten your paint a bit. And this has made it transparent because I actually dipped it in water. I would suggest that it's better to spray or mix the palette a bit. Okay. So we have this. Yes, sure, that will be great. And do let me know if there is any product that you would want me to review. I love doing that. So yes, now you can say, oh gosh, there are so many harsh lines. The edges are so hard. That's not looking so good. I would agree. So what we're going to be doing is, now we're going to be cleaning up till then this dries. And then instead of blending, now instead of blending this out, we already have the colors over here on palette, okay? We are going to make a mid tone, which is going to be like, okay, like we have that green, we add in a touch of the other green, and instead of mixing, we kind of soften the edge with another color. So in this way, we also cover up the whites wherever we have the whites. And now the main thing is taking another brush. I'm going to be taking a round brush for the highlights. And now I'm going to be very careful about where the highlights are. So I'm going to be taking a little bit of the white, a little bit of that yellow, maybe a touch of that green. And now, wherever I see the highlight, I'm going to be just adding it. It's got a light line over here. We have going to be adding. Now we have something which is very interesting, but wait, I need to darken this, lighten this a bit. Yeah. Now we have something at the eye area. So we need to and now this is giving it that eye form. Can you see now that the form is, getting defined? And somehow I just feel, okay, after doing this, I'm feeling certain areas still need to be lightened. So if I feel that certain area needs to be lightened, I can go ahead and use this brush to lighten them. Okay. I just felt. So you keep analyzing, what needs to be worked on. Now here, again, one more thing that I noticed is the shadow or the darker parts are looking really very dark. So now we need to have something in between. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to take that green, I'm going to add in a little lighter green. It's going to be darker than this for sure, and I can always check it out by placing it next to this or placing it next to this. Okay, it still needs to be slightly lighter. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking in that orangish thing and I'm going to lighten it. Yeah, and let me check over here because this is the darkest. So yeah, so now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding this over here. And what this does is this adds in another layer which helps me define it better. Okay, so yes. And now we have a bit of that green, the lighter green, which is going to be here. Definitely better. Yes. Now again, I am going to be using this brush for that green that we had mixed previously. And we're going to be for that glow. Can you see now that it started glowing? And it has a good form. maybe a little bit of that color spreading here. Yeah. Yes, now it's looking really gummy. This part has, looking really nice. And the only thing, it is not blended also, and you're getting a nice juicy brushwork also. So that is the thing which has to be done, if you want to make it look like really painterly. Now this is getting a nice lovely glow, and I don't think I should mess with it more. The moment you feel like, oh, it's looking nice, should I go ahead? That's your signal, stop. Wait for one day and then see if you want to go ahead with something. Now we need to work with the beak. So anytime you're feeling, oh wow, this is looking so good, maybe I should go ahead, that's your signal, stop at that moment. Don't go ahead. Because you can always add more, but you can't remove. Spoiled a lot of paintings doing that. So I think that's the best advice I can give. So now, again, with this layer, we're going to be adding in, again, some kind of color breaks. Okay. And now with that, again, a bit of that yellow. For that shine, we're going to go ahead it's quite weak. It needs a good shine. Needs another shine over here. So yes, the highlight areas that I can see have been put in, but now we need to darken certain areas, and we need to, so I'll go with the brighter colors first because that's the best way to go. So I'm taking the bright yellow and I'm going to be adding it here. There is a slight line over here. Again, as I said, there was this line, but I'm going to be adding in a little more of that brighter color. Now we need to go with the darker color because that needs. So for the darker colors, first of all, I feel there is a kind of a line over here. Again, just a touch of water. Maybe a little darker over here. Yeah. Then we have something over here. This green needs to be done a little more. Again, time for some highlights. Still not happy with the beak, I should say. Not so happy with this. Needs some more orange, I think. Oops, 1 second. Yeah. So we are going to be now working. Yeah, now that's better. The highlight was wrong. So I need to keep checking where I'm making a mistake. And it needed to be a slightly more blended look. Yeah. So that's kind of looking good now. Yeah. And now for this part, again, we're going to go with a little bit of the darker color. And maybe on the highlights, we're going to be adding in here. So yeah, it does have a good form, though I'm not really very happy with the beak. Maybe I need to do this, and a bit of that color needs to go. Yes. Just the lighter shade of the color. I am not blending with water because water is going to be then diluting the strength of the paint, which is something that I don't want. I'm going to go in and now get in some nice correction of shapes. If we want, we could add a bit of that orange over here. Yeah, over here. Kind of nice. So I'm just going in with colors to give it that glow too, and then a slight blending of the color. Yeah. So yeah. Now I think I'll mess it up. So I'm going to be waiting. I usually wait for a day and then come back to it again. If I feel I need to add in some more colors. Because now then I might just go overboard. Yeah. So I think it's time now to stop this before I go overboard on this. Not with the highlights, with anything. I don't want to go overboard with it. So leave it at this. Sorry about that. Leave it at this stage. When I feel no, I'm going to be starting to overwork. Things that I want to correct, I'll let you know now. I'm going to correct the shadow a bit. I'm going to make it more darker. Maybe I could do that now because I'm not touching the bird. So it's kind of okay. Because I'm not touching the bird, so I'm going ahead with this. So we do have, the shadow kind of extends. I need some more white. Okay, so the colors that I'm using, I am using the Camel's Artist Gouache. Okay, and the brush I'm using, this is also with Camel. It's the Artist series, and this one's a Princeton. Okay, so that's what I'm using. Let's get this shadow a bit corrected. I'm going in with violet. Maybe adding in just a bit of a green. Yeah. So now what is the problem is the shadow shape is kind of wrong that I have done. The shadow is, that's the shadow. Okay. And that's the shadow that I should have created. Okay. That's the way it should have been. So we're going to be now doing a little bit of corrections just for that. Also, there is a shadow over here, which I kind of missed out. Here. Okay. And now what has happened, the shadow has been really defined well. So we need to add in maybe I'm going in now with the background and you're gonna be like, oh, she changed the whole damn thing. But yes, because I'm kind of liking this. This is helping me correct the form. You can see how well that goes. Maybe add in a little bit of the white again for this area. Now what I'm going to be doing is just using a spray on my color so that it is a little more juicy. Yeah. That's a strong shadow. And you could also blend it out. Now we are going to be doing this. That's what I'm going to show you. Kind of blending it out. Giving it, yeah. Giving it a more shadowy look instead of hard edges. More natural look. And even if, now I just add in the layer with that base layer being seen in certain places, I'm okay. I've kind of covered up everything. Yeah. This is quite vibrant. It's quite nice. Let's take some white. And finish this off. Yeah, I think I'm done. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this session. This was a good painting session. Definitely some good results. We got this toucan green really well. A little bit of this needs to be worked on, especially that line. I don't like it, but now I'm not going to be touching it, because the more I go to touch it, the lower layers are going to be, start blending amongst each others. I'm going to wait for it to completely dry. Till then, I'm, going to be thinking about how I could modify it, come back to it maybe after a day, and then work on it. I hope you enjoyed this session, and do join me. I usually do a Saturday live most of the time, but somehow I was quite busy yesterday, so I couldn't do it. So usually it's Saturday or Sunday. You can also check out a lot of reviews on my page. There are product reviews, there are art tips related to acrylic, gouache, as well as soft pastels. So you can just check them out. And do join me on the live. It's good fun having you here. Bye bye. Take care. Love you. See ya.